She ventured with the wrong man at 3 a.m. Now he's her millionaire boss and the love of her life. The clock struck 3, shattering the quiet of the empty streets as Eva stumbled through the rain-soaked city. Barely awake, her heels clacked against the pavement. The neon lights flickered, revealing silhouettes that danced eerily through the mist. It was the hour of the dangerous and the desperate, and Eva, with her heart pounding and her gut twirling, was caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Every shadow felt alive, every distant noise a warning. But curiosity led her past the grimy bar into a world that was all glitter and danger. In the smoky haze, she met him, Carter. He was magnetic, wearing confidence like a second skin. His smile promised adventure wrapped in mystery. She felt an exhilarating jolt when he leaned closer, whispering secrets only meant for her. Who was this stunning stranger? He had an air that mixed charm with menace, leaving her breathless and apprehensive. The warm scent of expensive cologne still clung to her clothes, a reminder of his undeniable pull. Her mind raced with possibilities. She was entranced. But was she safe? As the minutes passed like fleeting dreams, Carter shared tales of fortune and failure, hinting at a life that glittered just out of reach, a life Eva had only dared to imagine. The more he spoke, the more her heart raced, tinged with the thrill and terror of a choice that felt inevitable. Around them, the room pulsed with energy. Laughter bubbled like boiling water, but the shadows whispered of darker things lurking beneath the surface. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, with a daring grin, he invited her into his world. Her heart raced, fingers trembling, excitement warring with dread. She followed him out into the night, and the moment they stepped into the street, the air buzzed with potential, the city wide open, the future unwritten. But in the back of her mind, a question had begun to take root. What would she awaken in this new life? Was she stepping into love or into the jaws of danger? As Eva walked beside Carter, the line between thrill and peril blurred, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the night had only just begun. The city roared to life as they ventured deeper into the night. Every sound, every moment pulsed with a breathless energy that made Eva's heart race faster. Carter walked beside her, exuding an intoxicating mix of charm and danger that was utterly irresistible. The headlights of passing cars illuminated his features, creating a compelling shadow play across his sharp jawline. He turned toward her, smile widening, as if he could sense her turmoil. "Do you really want to know about me?" he asked playfully, his eyes glistening like stars in a black sky. She hesitated, swallowing hard. A part of her craved those secrets, the hidden truths that danced just out of reach. But another part felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on her, a palpable tension. "What is the worst thing you've ever done, Carter?" she challenged, surprising herself with her boldness. He laughed, a deep, rich sound that echoed through the alleyway. "Oh, darling, if I told you, I'd have to kidnap you into my world forever." Her stomach twisted. Was he joking, or was there something darker beneath? Suddenly, an ominous howl of sirens sliced through the air. The fun, carefree ambience shifted sharply, and Eva felt a shiver run down her spine. Carter's expression hardened, eyes shifting to scan the street. It was as if the city itself held its breath, waiting for something to happen. "Let us hurry," he urged, grabbing her hand and pulling her along. The warmth of his grip sent a jolt through her, mixing thrill with an undercurrent of fear. They ducked into a shadowy side street, the atmosphere thickening with tension. She glanced back at the noise, confusion mingling with fear. "What is going on? Why are we running?" Carter didn't answer, leading her deeper into the labyrinth of alleys. The rain trickled down, washing away remnants of the vibrant nightlife as they retreated into the dark. Moments later, they found themselves in front of an unassuming door, tucked between two crumbling brick walls. "Here we are," he said, panting slightly. He pushed open the door, revealing a modest but stylishly lit loft, far removed from the chaos of the street outside. The clattering noise faded away as the door closed behind them, enveloping them in an uncanny silence. Eva's breath caught in her throat. What is this place? The luxurious feel of the space contrasted sharply with the gritty world that lay beyond. A sanctuary of sorts, Carter replied, shrugging off his coat. The way he spoke, with such disarming ease, made her feel safe. And yet, something nagged in her gut that warned this sanctuary was more than it appeared. In that moment, she spotted a shimmering object on the table, a diamond-studded watch, glinting in the soft light. "Is this yours?" she asked, picking it up to inspect it. Carter's eyes flickered from her face to the watch, and something dark flashed across his features. "Not exactly," he said, his voice turning ominous. "And now you might want to put it down." Tension thickened the air. Eva suddenly felt a wave of fear wash over her. What had she stepped into? Before she could say anything, Carter's phone buzzed on the table, the screen lighting up with a name she didn't recognize. Victor. Her heart raced as Carter glanced at the phone, his expression shifting from casual to intense. "I need to take this." As he turned away, the weight of unsaid truths loomed in the space between them. What dangers had she walked into? And what would Victor want with Carter? She had entered a world shrouded in glitz and peril, but now the reality of that world was closing in around her. What was she really in for? The night was only beginning, and she was left wondering just how deep the rabbit hole went. Carter stepped into the corner of the room, his back to her as he answered the buzzing phone. Eva's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat that demanded answers but offered only silence. She could barely hear his words, muffled and urgent, but the tension in his posture said it all. This was no ordinary call. "Victor, no, I can't," he said, his voice low and steady. She strained to catch more, but the words slipped away, like water through her fingers. The silence in the room was deafening. The loft, once a refuge, now felt like an enclosed trap, strange, beautiful, and hiding something sinister within. She dropped the watch back onto the table, her fingers trembling. What had she gotten herself into? As Carter mumbled into the phone, his brow furrowed. She wanted to trust him, wanted to believe in the magnetic pull that had led her to this moment. But the growl of his voice as he spoke to Victor sent chills down her spine. "Listen, I'll handle it," he hung up abruptly, turning to face her. The fire in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by a tempest of concern. "I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to worry you." But his words felt hollow against the backdrop of her anxious thoughts. "What was that about?" she asked, crossing her arms as if to shield herself from his intensity. Carter ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his face. "It's complicated. You shouldn't have seen that watch." "Complicated? Are we talking about another world we end up in or something worse?" The edge in her voice surprised her. Eva barely recognized herself, but this wasn't just about her curiosity anymore. She was staring into the heart of danger, and it terrified her. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Victor is a guy I work with, someone who doesn't like to be crossed. I thought we had time." "Time for what?" Before he could answer, the conversation was interrupted by another sound, a knock, hard and insistent, echoing through the loft. Both of them froze, tension coiling tightly in the air. Carter's expression changed, becoming dangerously guarded. "Stay here, Eva." "No. You can't just leave me." He shot her a look, sharp and commanding. "This isn't a game. I need to check it out." In 2 strides, he reached the door. Eva felt adrenaline surge. She wanted to follow, to understand exactly what was happening, but a primal instinct held her back. Part of her warned her to stay put, to remain inside this seemingly safe space. But another part of her screamed that she couldn't just be a passive observer. Before she could decide, the door swung open, revealing a silhouette backlit by the city lights, a figure unmistakably familiar to Eva. "Carter." The voice struck her like lightning, a startling recognition that shocked her system. And just like that, the night spiraled. Her stomach dropped as Victor, the mysterious caller, the ominous voice in the shadows, stepped over the threshold, a sly smile playing on his lips. "Ah, there you are. I've been looking for you." Carter's body tensed, the atmosphere shifting instantly. She couldn't breathe as the reality of their situation came crashing down. What game was she now part of? Was this Victor the type to destroy lives, just so he could climb higher? "Eva," Listen, but she wasn't listening. In that moment, she knew the stakes had risen higher than she could comprehend. The night wasn't just unfolding anymore. It was about to explode. What had she really walked into? What would happen when the past collided with the present? As Victor's lips curled into a knowing grin, she realized that the rabbit hole had no end. Victor stepped further into the loft, his presence far too intimate, the air feeling thick with unspoken threats. Eva's instincts roared, and every nerve in her body screamed for her to run. Yet, rooted to the spot, she absorbed the scene like a stunned deer before a hunter. Carter shifted between her and Victor, muscles taut, eyes narrowed. What do you want, Victor? The neutral tone of his voice was an illusion, cracking under the weight of the anger brewing just beneath the surface. Just a little chat, Victor replied, candor wrapped in predatory charm. I was hoping we could discuss some unfinished business. His gaze flickered into Eva's eyes, as if trying to assess just how much she understood. Business? You mean the watch? She blurted, her voice trembling despite her efforts to sound assertive. She felt like a pawn, a piece on a board she didn't even know existed. And Victor was the player who held all the cards. Carter shot her a warning glance, that flicker of fear and desperation mirrored in the depths of his eyes. Don't engage, Eva. Just let me handle this. Victor's smile broadened. He seemed to thrive on the tension. Oh, Carter, you really shouldn't underestimate your little friend here. His finger traced the air, as if weaving his next manipulation. She might surprise you. Eva took a step back, the realization hitting her like a cold wave. What do you mean? She demanded, suddenly desperate for clarity in a haze of chaos. Whatever game he was playing, she needed to understand her role, to forge a path out of this mess. Victor chuckled, the sound melting into the walls. Let us just say, some people find themselves entangled in webs far beyond their perceptions, all because of choices made in the dead of night. Carter's jaw clenched, and he advanced toward Victor, positioning himself protectively in front of Eva. Enough, Victor. I want to let you toy with her. Whatever you need, it can be sorted without dragging her into it. Ah, but she is already in it, isn't she? Victor teased, tilting his head as if savoring the unfolding drama. What you don't seem to grasp is that Eva now knows about the watch, and she might hold more value than you realize. Eva felt her heart race again, panic flooding her thoughts. What was the watch? Why was it so significant? It was just a faded trinket, something more a relic of the past than anything of real worth. Yet the weight of Victor's words settled heavily around her. The loft felt claustrophobic, and dread licked at the edges of her mind. Stop, please, Eva interrupted, voice shaking. You both seem to think I'm just a pawn in whatever game you're playing. But I want the truth. Carter's head whipped toward her, surprise mixing with admiration. Eva, you don't know what you're asking for. But Victor chuckled once more, this time with genuine delight, and she hated him for it. Oh, but she does, Carter. Trust me, she does. The truth is always more lucrative than lies. Wouldn't you agree? The air shifted again, thickening like fog as the two men faced off, tension crackling like live wires. Eva felt the ground beneath her shake, opening up a chasm of uncertainty. You want the truth? Victor said, his voice low and seductive. Then let us play a little game. I'll tell you everything, but only if you're willing to risk something valuable in return. What does that mean? Eva asked, fury mixed with confusion, fearing she had stepped into a trap with no escape. Victor's grin widened at her confusion, his eyes sparkling with malice. Risk is the currency of truth. What do you value, Eva? I can make it worth your while, or destroy everything you hold dear. Carter stepped closer, desperation bleeding through his resolve. Don't listen to him, Eva. It's all a trick. Her heart raced. What would she be willing to gamble? What was at stake? As Victor leaned back, arms crossed, she could see the chips being laid down on the table, the stakes rising with each exchanged glance. In that moment, Eva knew it wasn't just about the watch or the secrets embedded within it was about her very existence, teetering on a knife's edge. What would she risk to uncover the truth? And in this game, how long could she keep her sanity intact? The boundaries of loyalty were shifting, and she was standing right in the middle, caught between two dangerous men. And for the first time, she felt the gravity of her innocence slipping away. The room felt charged, a live wire of emotions crackling between them. Eva's pulse quickened with each word exchanged, and she felt the sheer weight of Victor's challenge hanging in the air, heavy and suffocating. "What do I have to lose?" she whispered, heart pounding, testing the waters of her own bravery. The flicker of defiance in her voice caught Victor's interest. "Ah, now we're getting somewhere." Victor leaned forward, his smile a mix of amusement and something darker. "You see, it's not about what you stand to lose. It's about what you're willing to stake on your desire for the truth." Carter's expression turned to stone. "Don't let him play you, Eva. He's trying to bait you into a corner. You don't need to play his game." "Then what is the alternative?" She shot back, her frustration boiling over. "Pretending everything is fine while secrets spiral around us?" Victor chuckled, the sound a haunting echo through the cozy loft. "Secrets are like shadows, my dear. They only grow larger in the darkness. But don't worry. I'll share the light if you're brave enough to step into it." Eva felt the ground beneath her shift, her instincts at war. She wanted to retreat, to flee to safety, yet something propelled her forward. The familiar curiosity that had once lured her down dark paths was now an anchor. "What exactly are you offering?" she dared to ask. "A simple deal," Victor replied smoothly, eyes glinting with eagerness. "You supply me with something of equal value and asset, a piece of information, anything you treasure, and I'll lay all my cards on the table." Her mind raced. What could she offer that wouldn't tear her life apart? But the thought of remaining in the dark gnawed at her. And what if Carter was wrong? What if Victor spoke the truth? Carter moved protectively, frustration radiating from him. "Do not engage, Eva. He'll twist whatever you give him." But Victor cut him off, his voice silky and smooth. "Let her decide, Carter. A smart woman knows when to take risks." The tension crackled again, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Eva inhaled deeply, weighing her options, her emotions swirling in an unpredictable tempest. No matter what choice she made, she feared the consequences would be dire. "Fine," she said, surprising even herself with her boldness. "I'll play, but I want to guarantee that you'll tell the truth and nothing but." A glimmer of surprise flickered across Victor's face, replaced almost instantly by a confident grin. "Oh, how delightful. But truth comes at a price. Are you prepared to pay?" "I just want to know about the watch," Eva blurted, desperation clawing at her. "That is all." Victor leaned back, his silence a calculated pause, savoring her urgency. "Very well. Then let us start with something a little more tantalizing." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside the loft, slicing through the charged atmosphere. Carter's head snapped toward the sound, his expression shifting from hostile to alarmed. "What was that?" Victor's smile faded as a new tension painted his features, the predator now wary. "It seems our game has drawn unwanted attention." Eva's heart pounded fiercely. Was this another layer to Victor's manipulation, or was danger truly at their doorstep? Shadows swirled, cloaked figures illuminated by the dim light, the air electric with foreboding. "What have you brought upon us?" Carter demanded, his protective instincts surging, eyes darting to Eva with urgent warning. A stillness preceded the chaos, but the unease wrapped around them like a vice. How far was she willing to go for the truth now? What did Victor know that she didn't? Fear tickled at her spine, but Eva stood firm. The clock was ticking. Answers, danger, and hidden motives spiraled around her. And in that pivotal moment, she realized she was no longer just fighting for the truth. The stakes had risen, and so had her resolve. But as she looked into Carter's worried eyes, she couldn't help but wonder, would she still have everything that mattered by the end of this deadly game? Suddenly, footsteps echoed just outside the door, each sound laced with impending doom. Who was coming for them now? And what price would she pay to survive the night? The footsteps grew louder, each thud against the wooden floor sending a jolt through Eva's spine. Carter stood rigid, muscles tensed like a coiled spring, ready to protect her at all costs. Victor's expression morphed from amusement to calculated focus. He raised a finger to his lips, urging silence, as if he could charm the shadows outside. "What do we do?" Eva whispered, her voice barely breaking through the oppressive tension. "Stay quiet," Carter said, eyes darting to the door, every instinct screaming danger. "If it's who I think it is." He didn't finish the sentence, but the unspoken fear hung heavily in the air. Victor's demeanor shifted, The playful predator now appeared a little less confident, like prey sensing an encroaching threat. "Whatever you do, don't draw attention to yourselves," he murmured, glancing over his shoulder, assessing their surroundings. The footsteps stopped just outside the door, and Eva's heart raced. The dread pooled in her stomach, thickening with each second of delay. What had Victor ensnared her in? She pressed her back against the wall, willing herself to blend into the shadows. Then, the door burst open with a violent kick. The wooden frame splintered, an unwelcome shadow framing the entrance. Eva squinted against the sudden light, her eyes adjusting just in time to see a group of men step inside, faces taut with aggression. "Where are they?" One of the intruders barked, the menace lacing his voice like a razor's edge. He scanned the room, the other men fanning out behind him. Eva's breath hitched. She could feel her pulse in her ears, pounding loudly enough that she was certain they could hear it too. "Listen carefully," Victor whispered, lean and shark-like. "We may need to play a different game." Fear washed over her, mixing with the thrill of uncertainty. What game? What cohorts had she entangled herself with? Carter edged forward, positioning himself between her and the intruders. "You're not welcome here," he warned, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling within him. One of the men laughed, sharp and cruel. "Just give us what we came for, and we one team make this any messier than it has to be." "Like hell we will," Carter snapped, fists clenched. Victor leaned back against the wall, an almost unnerving calmness about him. "Perhaps a negotiation is in order," he suggested coolly, glancing from the men to Carter and then to Eva. "You see, boys, violence isn't always the best approach." Eva caught a glimpse of the freshly engraved patterns on the watch glinting from Carter's wrist, its eerily timeless elegance a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding. "Victor," she hissed, "what do you know about them?" "More than you realize," he breathed, an enigmatic smile creeping onto his lips. The tension transformed into something seductive and dangerous, as if the outcome could either pave the way to opportunity or plunge them into darkness. She shook her head, confusion wrapping around her. "What do you mean?" But before he could reply, one of the men lunged forward, reaching for Carter. The sudden movement ignited a flash of instinct. Eva could see the fight behind Carter's eyes, a driving urge to protect. "Look out," she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos, but too late. Carter twisted, blocking the man's advance, and they collided, grappling for control. The room exploded into action, the clash of bodies, grunts, and the splintering of furniture. Eva stood frozen, panic gripping her heart as she watched them struggle. "Victor," she yelled again, but his attention was solely on the fight. "What do we do?" "Get out of sight," he ordered, his composure unshaken even as the chaos erupted around them. Her resistance crumbled. She turned and dashed toward the kitchen, her feet pounding against the floor like the drum echoing in her chest. But as she glanced back, the sight of Carter grappling with the dark figure froze her in place. Was this the moment she realized how deep she'd fallen into this twisted game? What awaited them outside this room could destroy everything. Outside the kitchen window, the moonlight cast eerie shadows against the walls, almost mocking her every choice. What had she opened herself up to? And would she drag Carter into the abyss, or find her way out of the madness? As the fight continued to unfold, an unsettling realization gripped her, a truth far graver than what she'd been chasing. Was there a way back to safety? Or was she already too far gone, hurtling toward an unknown fate? Eva's heart raced as she darted into the kitchen, the chaos behind her echoing like a storm. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering with every sound of the struggle. She pressed herself against the cool tiles, breathing hard, trying to quiet the panic surging through her veins. What should she do? 1 minute, she was following Victor's lead in a world that thrilled her, and now she was here, facing a life-or-death situation. Outside, the night air was heavy, thick with uncertainty. Maybe she could escape through the back door. If she could get away, perhaps she could call for help. Just a few steps, just a way out, but another crash in the living room froze her resolve. She caught a glimpse of Carter's silhouette through the open door, wrestling against one of the men. He was strong, so strong, but he was outnumbered. "Carter," she whispered, fear curling in her stomach. "Eva, get out of here," he shouted, locking eyes with her. In that moment, She saw the determination behind his fear and the urgency that stoked her spirit. She had to help him. Her fingers brushed against the knife rack on the counter, and she grabbed the largest blade, its weight both comforting and alarming. She steeled herself, knowing that the only way out was through this darkness. Taking a deep breath, she crept back into the fray, moving quietly as she could. Voices rang in her ears, grunts of struggle, the sound of chairs splintering, and the men's shouts ricocheting chaotic threats against the walls. She rounded the corner, knife clutched tight in her palm, ready to intervene. But what would she do? Could she actually fight? The sight struck her. Carter was still holding his own, fists flying as he deflected one punch after another, but he was tiring. The assailant loomed over him, dark eyes glinting with malice. "Carter!" she yelled again, voice steady despite her trembling hands. "What were you doing? Get back!" he called, struggling against the pressure bearing down on him. Ignoring his plea, she surged forward, adrenaline pumping. With a fierce cry, Eva lunged at the man on Carter. The intruder whirled around, surprised, and the momentary distraction allowed Carter to shove his opponent aside. "Eva, no!" Carter shouted, and she ducked just in time as a fist sailed past her head. In one swift motion, driven by pure instinct, she lashed out with the knife. The blade cut through the air, grazing the man's arm. He yelped, jumping back, but it was enough distraction for Carter to seize the moment. He moved with speed and ferocity, knocking the assailant to the floor. Eva's breath caught. She was no longer just a bystander. They were fighting together now, against the tide of chaos that threatened to consume them. But the door swung wide again, and another man charged in, eyes burning with rage, fueled by the howl of adrenaline and disbelief. "You've made a mistake," he bellowed, advancing on them both. "Carter," she shouted, backing closer to him. "We need to get out now." He grunted, urgency slicing through his voice like a blade. Just as he moved to grab her hand, the lights flickered ominously before plunging them into darkness. The low hum filled the air, a sudden anxiety strangling every breath they took. What was this? Had they lost power? In the blackness, the atmosphere turned electric with uncertainty. Eva's heart beat wildly. Shadows shifted around them, but even in darkness, she could feel the encroaching presence of danger, thick and suffocating. Then, a terrible thud echoed through the silence, a sound like a final warning before the storm. "What is happening?" she whispered, panic threading her voice. Carter grabbed her arm tightly, pulling her closer. "We need to find another way out. Now." Despair washed over her. Had they truly stepped into something from which there was no escape? As a chilling laugh reverberated through the dark, her sense of dread deepened. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the lights flickered back to life. But what they revealed sent a shock through her. Standing in the doorway, just outside the reach of light, was Victor, smirking, those sharp eyes glancing between them like a cat watching its prey. "Having fun?" he drawled, feigning innocence. Eva's pulse quickened. What kind of game was Victor playing? The month had begun with a promise of adventure and mystery. Now, she couldn't shake the feeling the stakes were rising to a point of no return. Was this the moment they'd truly crossed a line? And what had Victor unleashed into their world? Victor stepped forward, the light casting ominous shadows across his sharp features. The men behind him hung back, watching with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Eva's heart raced faster than before. She gripped the knife tighter, the cool metal biting into her palm, grounding her in that world of spiraling chaos. "Victor, what are you doing?" she spat out, anger flooding her voice, cloaked in fear but pulsing with defiance. She noticed the slight smirk on his face, as if he had orchestrated this entire scene, and the realization knifed through her. This was not just a robbery. It was a setup. "Just a little surprise for you too," he replied, his tone mockingly casual. "I didn't want it to end just yet. Carter, we have to get out of here," she whispered, adrenaline fueling her whisper. Carter's jaw was set tight, scanning the room for possible escape routes. "Wait." Carter frowned, the weight of decision throbbing between them. "If he's behind this, we need to figure out what he before he could finish." Victor waved his hand, and the shadows surged forward. The men lunged like wolves, and, in that moment, everything surged into motion. Eva's instincts kicked in. "Run," she shouted, pushing Carter away just as one of the men charged. The blade flashed as she swung, narrowly missing the attacker. The man stumbled backward, momentarily stunned, but the others pressed on. Carter struck back, fists flying, arms moving like they were bound by a singular purpose. Keep moving. I'll hold them off. His fierce determination set a spark within her. But she couldn't just leave him. Her mind raced with the implications. Each moment that passed drew them deeper into Victor's twisted game. A game where the rules were clear, but the outcome was unpredictable. Another assailant barreled toward her, and she reflexively thrust the knife forward. It met flesh, and a gasp escaped her lips as the force pushed the man back. Blood splattered the floor like an errant brushstroke on a canvas, vivid and shocking against the backdrop of horror. Eva, focus, Carter snapped, wrenching her back to the present. This isn't a fight we can win here. She nodded, fear spiking again, fear mingled with the rush of adrenaline. They had to make it to the front door. The strength they shared was their only bargaining chip, their only hope in the face of something as monstrous as Victor's wrath. Rushing toward the exit, they dodged blows, ducking low as their surroundings engulfed them in chaos. It was only a few steps to salvation, but those steps felt interminable. Every hair on her body stood on end, her instincts screaming at her to look back. Keep going, Carter urged, throwing himself into another opponent with wild intensity that left Eva in awe. He was relentless, strong, but there was fear flickering in his eyes, one that mirrored her own. Just as they reached the door, Victor's voice rang out, smooth and slicing through the fray. You think it's that easy? The walls seemed to quiver with the power of his words. Eva's pulse quickened. There's no escape, my dears. You've stepped into a reality you can't unsee, but I can certainly make it worse. The door swung wide, exposed to the night sky, and Eva hesitated. Was freedom just a step away? Or another deception wrapped in false hope? Carter, she cried as she turned. Could they trust what lay beyond? But the moment hung heavy. Air thick with tension suffocated them as the remaining shadows closed in. Now or never, he yelled with fierce urgency. In that heartbeat. Eva saw it all flash before her, the stakes, the risks, the very essence of their fight entwined with their future. And then she felt it. A sharp pain blossomed on her arm, and she gasped as the world around her shifted, tumbling once more into darkness. Eva, Carter's shout was a lifeline, but it was slipping. Every instinct screamed for her to fight through the pain, to plunge deeper into this mess. But as she staggered, the room spun wildly, the line between ally and enemy blurred. She could hear Victor's laughter echoing like a death knell in the air. What had they unleashed in that dimly lit room? And would they survive long enough to discover the truth? Pain shot through Eva's arm, igniting her senses and sending her spiraling into a state of panic. She pressed her palm to the wound, feeling the warmth of blood seep through her fingers. The room was tipping, the figures around her morphing into shadowy specters, their faces twisted with malicious glee and contempt. Carter, she screamed, her voice barely cutting through the chaotic din. Desperation clawed at her throat. He was fighting, a raging bull against a pack of wolves, and she was falling apart right before his eyes. Stay with me, Eva, he barked, dodging another attacker. His own face was a mask of fury and determination, but she could see hesitation in his eyes as he glanced back at her, worry etching deeper lines across his brow. She forced her legs to move, shoving against the encroaching darkness. Every step felt like wading through molasses, but she couldn't afford to slow down. They had come too far to let Victor win. Behind her, the laughter echoed louder, a jarring cacophony that ricocheted off the walls and burrowed into her brain. Run, she yelled, more for herself than him. As she stumbled toward the door with every ounce of will she had left, Carter fought on, but the swarm was overwhelming. Outnumbered, one of Victor's men swept in low, taking Carter off guard. With a sharp crack, Carter was sent crashing to the ground, painful fury ripping across his face as he tried to regain his footing. Eva gasped, the panic rising in her throat like bile. No, it suffocated her, raw and primal. Before she could charge back, one of the attackers lunged at her, fist raised. In an instant, rage ignited inside her. She reared back and swung the knife wildly, fueled by adrenaline and desperation. It sliced through the air, connecting with flesh, and the man let out a strangled cry, collapsing at her feet. The sight sickened her, but there was no time for hesitation. She could not falter. They were out of time. "Carter, I'm coming," she screamed, as she turned, ready to fight her way back to him. And that's when she saw it. A flash of silver glittered from the corner of her eye. The glimmer of a gun aimed at Carter. Time felt like it warped, stretching into an eternity as she rushed forward, her heart pounding deafeningly in her ears. "Carter," she shouted, throwing herself in front of him just as the weapon discharged. The sharp crack echoed like thunder, reverberating through the room. In her peripheral, she caught the bullet was past them, barely grazing her side. "Eva!" Carter's voice broke with fear. He grabbed her arm, pulling her back against him. "Keep moving," she gasped, and together they stumbled out of the chaos, adrenaline pumping with urgency through their veins. But freedom felt just beyond their grasp. Victor's laughter echoed like a haunting melody. "Run all you like, but you can't escape the truth. You were never meant to leave." The world blurred into a fever dream, the illuminated door promising escape, but doubt pooled in the pit of her stomach. They reached the threshold, but a heavy hand gripped her shoulder, spinning her around. She gasped as Victor stepped into view, his wild eyes glinting maliciously. "Did you really think I would let you go that easily?" Before she could react, another set of footsteps pounded angrily behind her. A shadow loomed, and Eva's heart dropped as she recognized the figure taking shape. "Get away from her!" Carter shouted, raw fight in his voice. And in that moment, she realized the truth was more dangerous than what lay beyond the door. While Victor's smirk deepened, the unexpected visitor's face was unfamiliar, yet filled with urgency. The room shrank around them, closing in on this moment of reckoning. What would they uncover when the dust settled, and would it be worth the cost of their freedom? The tension hung thick in the air, a tangible force. Eva's heart raced as she tried to process what was happening. Victor's sinister grin was a razor blade, sharp and cutting, while Carter's fierce determination radiated strength. But danger was their unwelcome guest, lurking in every corner. "Who is this?" Eva demanded, nodding towards the newcomer. Confusion rippled through her. This was supposed to be about her and Carter, but Victor had manipulated the scene into something far more complicated. "Friend or foe, dear Eva?" Victor retorted, his tone dripping with mock amusement. "You'll have to decide who to trust." The shadowed figure stepped forward, illuminated for the first time an unexpected ally. "Eva, listen. There's no time. We need to move." The urgency in his voice brought her back, snapping the spell Victor held over them. Carter's grip tightened around her hand, anchoring her. "Who are you?" he asked, voice rugged with demand, yet haunted with uncertainty. By now, exhaustion weighed down his eyes, but fury still burned bright. "This isn't the place for explanations. Just know I'm here to help you take him down," the figure pleaded, darting glances between them and Victor. "His game is far deadlier than you think." Victor chuckled, the sound low and sinister. "Oh, how adorable. You think you can choose sides in this deadly chess match? The board is set, and the pieces are already in play." In that moment, Eva felt the tides shifting. It was clear, there was no escape without confronting the truth. "Then let us end this," she declared, determination boiling within her. Carter looked at her, disbelief and admiration mixing in his eyes. "Are you sure?" "We don't know what he has planned," Carter warned, doubt swirling through his words. "I'm done being afraid," Eva said firmly, her voice steady as she glanced toward the figure again. "I'll trust you, but I need to know everything." With that, Victor's facade slipped, and a flicker of disappointment crossed his face. "You think you have a choice? That would require you understanding the game better." But they didn't need to understand. It was about fighting for their right to exist beyond his manipulations. "I won't allow you to hurt anyone again." Eva spoke, strength pouring from her like a dam breaking. Carter nodded, aligning with her resolve. "Then let us take him down together." But before they could move, Victor raised a hand, and silence fell. A low murmur reverberated in the air. "Very well, if it's a fight you want, then it's a fight you'll get." With a sudden burst, Victor lunged toward them, but the newcomer charged forward at that same exact moment, catching him off guard. The room erupted in chaos. Eva felt the electric force of the fight surging around her, and without hesitation, she grabbed the knife again, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Everything blurred, shouts echoed, bodies collided, and fear twisted within the chaos. Carter fought fiercely, and she darted past the first wave, drawn into her own battle with a sense of purpose rising like a tide. Eva, Carter's voice broke through, urgency instilled in every beat. Stay close. She locked eyes with the stranger and trusted him enough to follow. They pushed deeper into the fray, moving to cut off Victor's path, while Carter held off the remaining attackers. But then, a moment of clarity flashed in Eva's mind. The watch. She called to the stranger a half-step behind her. What is its significance? Victor snarled from across the room. Secrets always hold the strongest power, dear girl. That watch, it's a key. A key to what? She said, adrenaline fueling her resolve. To everything you've wished to walk away from. Victor spat back, contorting the promise of freedom into something far more grotesque. With renewed determination, Eva propelled herself toward Carter, sidestepping threats, and feeling every pulse of fear morph into ferocity. In the heart of chaos, she understood the stakes. Her choices held the power to either cage them or break them free. Together, they launched themselves against Victor's sinister grip, darkness clawing at their heels. It was no longer about hiding from fear, but standing against it in one swift motion. As the fight reached its boiling point, Carter swung out, catching Victor off balance. Get the watch, he shouted, and Eva dove in a low tackle, grabbing it off Victor's wrist, a diamond-studded heart, now pulsing with her fear and fury intertwined. Now, Eva yelled, brandishing the watch, a symbol of their rebellion. Let us finish this. Just as Victor surged forward with malicious intent, they whirled together, channeling every ounce of fear into a powerful leap toward the exit. Go, Carter shouted, and with a swift nod to the stranger who shared their battle spirit, they burst through the door into the night, leaving chaos in their wake, a storm of possibility ahead. They raced into the moonlight, breathless but unbroken. Behind them, Victor's voice faded into echoes of wrath, but they were no longer ensnared by his game. Freedom surged through them, a taste of resurrection sweeter than they could fathom. They had taken a leap into the unknown, but they were not alone anymore. And as the city streets sprawled before them, Eva knew one thing: the truth wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to uncover it together. Carter's hand found hers, threading fingers tightly in a pact forged through chaos and rising hope. We got this, he said, a promise echoing in the twilight. And in that short, exhilarating rush of freedom, they turned their backs on a past filled with darkness, problems to face, yes, but a life together to reclaim. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you wanting more. Smash that like button right away to feed the algorithm and show support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who crave thrilling tales like this. Your participation is what keeps this community alive.